Hi there, I'm Whitney Smith, and we are going through the security guard training syllabus here in Ontario, and we are in the Section 3 Basic Security Procedures. So, we're basically just going through this syllabus and helping you understand what the courses are about, what to expect in them, and what should be expected, of course, from the training provider that is training you. So, as we go into Section 3, we're going to see here in the overview that security guards need to respond to changes in their environment, which includes actions such as traffic movement, ensuring the safety of persons between and within locations, monitoring and managing the access and departure of persons and vehicles, and observing and monitoring people. Security guards need to be aware of the correct way to deal with these situations. Your trainers, whether you do online or in person, are going to provide you with the knowledge and skills to assess the security and physical environments and apply basic aspects of security in your role and assess the impact of drug use in the context of safety for oneself and others. So this is a big one. Ultimately, you need to know the industry that you're working in. So you're going to learn about, obviously, we're going to explain surveillance, what it is. So following somebody, observing the physical movement, attending to environmental details, and situational awareness. Situational awareness is so key in this industry. You don't know who's behind you, beside you, in front of you, or coming up your back, and you're not paying attention. So you always need to be aware of what you're doing. I look at it like this. When you're driving, there's a motto that says you should always drive 20 seconds ahead. So that means you should know and expect what's going to take place 20 seconds ahead. So you're reading lights, you're reading traffic patterns, you're seeing pedestrians, so you can make decisions ahead of time, being ready for that. So situational awareness is like that. You need to always know what's around you, who is around you, what they're doing, what their movements look like, and you have to be able to assess what you're going to do if something happened. Should that person's behavior increase or turn violent, turn problematic, turn dangerous. So situational awareness is absolutely huge. You don't know ultimately the physical environment that you're going to be working in. If you're working, somewhere in rural Canada, rural Ontario, excuse me, you might deal with crazy amounts of snow. So you might be doing, patrols, and you're outside in the physical environment that is like minus 40. Let's say you work at a mine. You might be dealing with extreme temperatures, and you're going to need to know how to go through those types of scenarios, those types of sites, and do your job appropriately, but in environments and changing areas. Then we're going to describe the basic elements of security and include the following: access control, crowd control, vehicle control, and legal authority to perform traffic control duties and shift handover. Access control, maybe you're working in like an event security or something like that, or maybe maybe it's a concert or some sort of conference or something like that. If, the building only allows so many people, then you need to make sure that you monitor how many people are coming and going so that you're not going over, any fire regulations, things like that. So you'll later learn about the municipal side and the area that you're working in, what the rules and bylaws are for that area. But that's going to be important. Crowd control, of course, if you're maybe one or of limited guards on a site, you need to be able to monitor crowds and what's taking place within crowds. And again, that situational awareness, paying attention to what's going around you. You might have a crowd that's, a bunch of older people and they're just playing bingo and they're having a great time. And then you might have a crowd of younger people that are drinking heavily, possibly doing drugs, and what their behavior is now might change very quickly based on the things that they're doing. So you need to be paying attention in all ways. Shift handover is going to be a big one. Ultimately, as you're, coming into a shift, you want to be properly informed on what took place in the previous shift. And then, of course, you need to do the same thing for the other guards that you're working with. Communication is definitely key. Discussing drug effects, substance abuse, and related drug paraphernalia. Relate signs of substance abuse and withdrawal, including physical and physiological consequences. This is a big one that we're seeing. We're in 2026 right now. And, security guards more and more often are dealing with homeless individuals that deal with drug addictions and or mental illness and or both at the same time. So you need to know not only how to deal with these individuals, but potentially the substances, the paraphernalia that you might find on them, around them, they might throw at you, all of that, right? If you have somebody, one of our security sites, we, sometimes people go in the bathroom and they overdose in the bathroom. So the security guard might have to go in that bathroom and they might have to check them. Hey, are you okay? And they're touching and checking, vitals, whatever. And they might have needles on them somewhere. And you might have to, give naloxone or something like that. So you need to ultimately really be informed on all of this, and the right training course is going to make sure that you have all of that information. Now we're going to talk about surveillance. So, security guards will be called upon to observe the physical environment for changes in suspicious behavior. This objective is typically achieved by conducting an in person or remote surveillance of the physical environment. Security guards are expected to notice and monitor minor changes in order to make sound decisions when devising a plan of action. So, in the course, we're going to focus on that decision making, recognizing patterns. So, again, that situational awareness being very, very key, observing minor yet critical details, and detecting anomalies. At the end of the day, there's going to be different things that you're going to see on a site that you need to pay attention to, and every site is going to be different. So you're going to need to apply it in different ways. So if you already know hypothetically what you're going to do, like if you've already been hired by a company and they're like, okay, you're going to work at construction sites. Okay, great. At least you have an idea. So as you're taking that course, you're going to really kind of understand, okay, these are the things that I would do working on a construction site. These are the patrols that I'm going to be doing. This is what I'm going to be looking for. This is what I'm trying to detect or prevent. But if you don't know that, then you need to just take a whole lens here and just imagine, a world of working on any kind of site, situational awareness being such a big one. And you need to pay attention, observing minor yet critical details. At the end of the day, the smallest thing could be really huge. Your response is important. Interpreting and adapting to events. In security, things change on a dime. So you need to be able to change with the site, the expectations, the things going on, whatever's taking place. So in here, you're going to go through, the pre-reading, which we've already discussed, and it's very important to participate in those pre-reading assignments. You want to make sure that you're engaging with that material, so you really understand it. And depending on the course that you take, the pre-reading material might look different. So really engage with that, so that you can be fully informed on what you're learning about the industry that you're about to work in. Excuse me. So that's definitely going to be important. So you're going to have lectures on methods of observation, identifying hazards to self and others, completing initial checks to establish a benchmark for subsequent observations, using all 5 senses for observation, writing notes for observations. And you're going to have a discussion on decision making and ensure safety and security, assessing risk of current and potential situation to self and others, while assessing what skills are required to deal effectively with particular situations, assessing the behaviors of others and physical environments. And then role playing. That's going to be an interesting one too, because at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know. So, when you go through learning some of this information and then you're put in that kind of what would you do situation, your brain has to go to a different thought process, right? You no longer are just in a frame of like, oh, I'm in a learning mode. I'm just absorbing this and kind of retaining it for as long as I need. But then you're switching to like, how do I practically use this? What would I do in this situation? So as you're in those role playing and kind of group discussions, whether you're doing that in an online or an in-person, it doesn't matter. But, it's going to be important that, work with your friends and family, talk to your peers about this, because it is interesting. And even asking other people, hey, what would you do in this kind of situation? I think you'll find, the answers would be pretty interesting. So then you're going to go into the basic elements of security. So access control, crowd control, vehicle control, and shift handover procedures. So all of this being, important on the what you can and can't do. So, how to escort people within and between locations in a safe manner, how to prepare for an assignment, contacting the correct personnel when there's a breach of security, and how to inspect baggage, vehicles, etc. So crowd control, of course, how to create a barricade or a staging area, and how to lock down a facility. Then, of course, your vehicle control, controlling vehicular pedestrian traffic on company property or on public roads in emergencies, monitoring traffic movements, using proper hand signals for directing traffic, a little bit of all of that, using traffic control equipment, and wearing the appropriate attire. Then, of course, your shift handover and how to update the next person on the shift. So that's really important. You want to put the people that you work with in the safest, best place possible, and make sure that they understand what took place. And then vice versa. You want to know what happened on the shift, because if there was something dangerous that happened and you don't know about it, you might find yourself in an unnecessarily dangerous situation, or where you're not prepared to deal with the situation. And if you had maybe either given or had received proper handover information and proper communication, then you would potentially not have any issues. Again, you're going to go through that pre-reading, lecture, video and discussion, and then role playing. And then, of course, that learning journal, really going to be key to writing these things down. Then we have drug effects. So, security guards may encounter individuals under the influence of drugs or alcohol. They need to be aware of the signs of substance abuse as well as impact of different drugs on human behavior. Example, going through withdrawal in order to deal with these individuals in a manner that will ensure personal safety as well as that of the subject. Your course is going to discuss different types of drug paraphernalia, the impact of using drugs on human behavior, and how to address individual behavior depending on the type of substance. So again, we're seeing a lot in 2026. We're seeing a lot more drug use than we ever have, and very dangerous drugs, right? Fentanyl being quite dangerous, methamphetamines, drugs that are really really bad, very dangerous. Even drugs that, if you are exposed to, could be deadly for you, even just ingesting, breathing in, anything like that. So, this is really going to be an important one, especially if you live in certain areas where you're seeing a lot of that take place. Then that's something, even more so you want to be really paying attention to. And then, of course, you're going to have the quiz that goes over this section and really just gets you, familiar with the quizzes in general that you're going to see on the course, or like through the course, and then of course in the final exam. And so yeah, there you go. There is section 3, basic security procedures. Thanks for watching.